The rain came out of nowhere. It was a hunting day like any other, and I had an advantage. 2 loyal dogs by my side, my companions in life and struggle. I called them as soon as the smell of rain started mixing with the wind. But this wasn't the usual clean, fresh scent of clouds breaking. There was something bitter in it. The two of them, the strong, dark-coated male and the swift female with ears standing high, came quickly, sniffing the air, restless. I thought they sensed the rain, but now I wonder, did they already know? The rain hit the rocky ground hard, quickly flooding the path. I had to follow the crevices where the water flowed fast. My dogs, always loyal, growled low, their wet fur on edge, eyes alert. And then I noticed. Their growl wasn't the usual one when they caught the scent of rain. There was something else, something beyond what eye or they could see. We kept moving. The hunt hadn't gone badly, but the sky darkened, and that strange feeling wouldn't leave. I sensed something nearby, a presence that made no sound. No animals. Not even a single bird called out. My dogs, at times, would stop, sniffing the air, casting quick glances behind us. I watched them out of the corner of my eye and stayed alert. My heart was beating faster. At night, I made a fire, but I didn't stray far. The dogs seemed closer to me than usual, eyes gleaming in the darkness, as if they didn't want to step beyond the circle of light. The rain fell intermittently, and its sound was almost comforting, but it didn't ease the tension. There were footsteps. Every so often, it felt as though someone was watching us from very close, but I found nothing but wet rocks and impenetrable shadows. By dawn, the dogs ran after something, sniffing the muddy ground quickly. I followed them to an area where the earth had been disturbed, as if something heavy had passed through. But there were no hoof marks or paw prints, only an incomplete trail, disappearing into the smooth rocks. We continued, but I kept a close eye on our surroundings, especially on the dogs. I didn't know what I expected to see, only that something was there, and this rain left no signs. In the days that followed, it got worse. Sometimes by dusk, we felt that presence draw closer, and my body grew tense. One night, I was startled awake by a desperate bark. I looked up to see the female crouched, teeth bared, almost trembling. She was staring in one direction, where there was only darkness. The male was right beside her, not growling. He was watching, alert, just waiting for my signal. "Come, stay close," I murmured, trying to calm my heart that was pounding in my chest. They didn't stray. They stayed there, always vigilant, never fully sleeping. Their fear was mine, and with every step, I felt the wind carried the scent of something, dry and ancient. My senses sharpened as I tried to find something that wouldn't show itself. Another time, while we were hunting in the mountains, I slipped down a slope and nearly fell with them. I tried to hold on, and I heard the female give a high-pitched bark as my foot slipped in the mud. But suddenly, something seemed to pull the male back. Was it a branch? A blade of grass? I don't know. He let out a yelp and shivered for a moment, and all I could think was it was close, so close that it almost took him. That night, the rain returned heavily, and everything was so dark that even the fire seemed small. We sat together, the three of us in the cave, rain drumming against the entrance. The feeling, it crept closer, came without warning, weighing down the air. I didn't know if it came from the rain or the fire, but it was there. I slept little. When I woke, I saw the male staring out at the mouth of the cave. He wasn't growling, he was just watching. I ran a hand through his damp fur. It was warm, strong. And the female seemed to sense it too, because she curled up beside me, seeking shelter. I decided to leave that place by morning, maybe to somewhere where the rain wouldn't press down so heavily, where the air would be lighter. But as I started walking, something simply wouldn't let us go. It seemed to be toying with me. There were tracks along the path, tracks of something that seemed to have just passed. But when I approached, I saw they weren't tracks of any animal or man. It was as if the ground had been pressed without weight, as if only a mark remained. The dogs sniffed cautiously and backed away, and I followed them. I never found what was following us. All I know is that, on that last night, under the final rain we endured, I felt that this was the end of our flight. But when I looked to either side and saw the two dogs beside me, their eyes reflecting the firelight and the fear in the depths of their gaze, I understood that together we had something that presence could never touch. And maybe, just maybe, that's what drew it to us. And so we continued.
We used to be many. So many that around the fire, we were almost a single voice, our bodies warm beside each other, sharing stories of our victories over the cold and the hunts. Now we are few. I never thought that settling our tents and building walls from the river stones would make us fragile. But since our tribe spread out along this valley, something strange has been lurking around us. The first to vanish was Agruk's son, a restless boy who often snuck out at night to hunt small creatures. No one saw him leave. When we woke up, his bed was empty. His father tried to track him, but there was no sign. It was as if the boy had simply vanished, leaving only silence in the night. At first, we thought he'd just wandered off, maybe playing a childhood game. Some even laughed about it. But the nights that followed were different. More vanished. First, our younger hunters, the ones who slept on the village outskirts. Then, even the warriors, those who were never afraid of anything. Now, when darkness covers the sky, even I, who have faced the blood of enemies, feel a chill up my spine that I can't shake. I am the firekeeper, the guide of those who remain. It's my duty to light the first flame at night and keep it burning until dawn, to guard the warmth that protects us from the darkness. Even I, with my spear and alert ears, feel as if something is watching me. Tonight, I watch carefully, scanning every corner of the village, alert to the slightest movement. The fire burns low now. There's barely enough wood left, and no one dares to gather more. Only 3 of us remain around the embers, and we are all on edge. A strange sound came from the northern side, where the old cave is, the one that the elders say is where the spirits of our ancestors dwell. It was a whisper, almost a call. Our eyes met, and something, maybe foolish courage or pure desperation, urged us to rise and walk toward it. When we arrived, the cave was just as it always is, silent and empty. But the marks? There were deep claw marks, as if something far larger than any beast we've ever known had tried to break free from inside. Maybe you'd think we're foolish, but you didn't hear what we heard. A whisper that came from neither the wind, nor the earth, nor any animal. A low voice that seemed to call the names of those who disappeared. I tried to stand firm. I am the leader, but my legs trembled. One of the warriors, my hunting brother, knelt and touched the marks, as if he were trying to decipher an ancient language. And then his eyes. I saw the terror in them. He turned to me and muttered, "They're still there." I didn't wait to hear more. A shadow, dark and cold as the night itself, swept across the cave, and my warriors ran. All of them except one. He stayed, staring into the darkness as if spellbound. I returned alone. I didn't tell the others. I had no strength left to explain what I couldn't understand. Those who remained asked about him, but I only said he chose to follow the spirits. Can you feel it? It's as if the night itself breathes, as if it tightens around us, waiting for the right moment to swallow us whole. Once again, silence. Once again, I feel the absence, the emptiness where once there were voices. I look around the fire, and we are no longer 3. Only 2 remain now. The last warrior beside me, my childhood friend, whispers that we should leave the valley. Go far, maybe even return to the life of wandering. But where would we go? Back to a world without the stones we built? Leave behind the fire we worked so hard to bring together? Is that the price of survival? But no, I won't run. If these shadows want me, let them come. Tonight, I'll sit beside the fire until it dies out, until the night faces me with nothing between us. I am the leader, and I am the last one left. At dawn, there will either be light, or emptiness will take over everything. And perhaps they're only waiting for the fire to go out.
It was morning, and the cold shadows still lingered among the trees, though the sun was already rising. My tribe was restless. Today, we would hunt. My stomach was growling. It had been some time since we last tasted meat, and hunting in these times was always a gamble, always uncertain. I walked beside 3 of our most experienced hunters. We stepped lightly, listening to every faint sound around us. Ahead, Avik, always the fastest, suddenly stopped and raised his hand. We all crouched immediately. My chest tightened, my blood coursing hot as I peered through the leaves. There it was, our prey, a 4-legged creature, its dark muscles rippling beneath its skin. Our hunger seemed to come alive in each of us. I crouched lower, gripping my spear. There was no room for mistakes, no hesitation, only hunger and precision. It all happened quickly. We leaped forward as one, and Avik's spear was already plunging into the beast's flesh. But just as we struck, the sound that followed was not the usual cry of pain. It was different, a rough, low rumble that filled the air and chilled me to the core. It seemed to come from far beyond what our eyes could see, yet it was here, right here with us. I felt every hair on my body stand on end. Avik looked at me, eyes wide with shock, and before any of us could question what had happened, he vanished. It was as though the earth had swallowed him whole. He disappeared right in front of our eyes, without a sound, without a trace. I looked around, bewildered, searching for some explanation, but nothing made sense. The ground was solid, firm. Nothing had changed. We were still frozen, trying to understand what had happened, when we heard it again. That deep, thunderous sound echoing from the trees. Part of me wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. One of us stepped forward, calling for Avik, but the sound grew louder, like the very air was snarling at us. We looked at each other with a grim understanding. Whatever this was, it would not let us return to the tribe so easily. Despite that, we decided to turn back, but as we did, we noticed something strange. The forest we knew so well now felt bizarre. The branches were twisted in unusual ways, and the stones, which had always scattered naturally, now formed a strange line, almost as if pointing somewhere. And as we moved, I noticed something familiar. Tracks. Avik's tracks, clear as day, but they looped around us, leading everywhere yet leading nowhere. A chill crept down my spine as I realized he was trapped here, walking in circles, but he was no longer with us. Then the same sound as before returned, this time so close that I felt the ground shake. I looked to my side and saw one of the hunters, Kala, collapse to the ground, trembling, his eyes wide with terror like I'd never seen before. He began crawling away, clawing at the earth as if trying to escape. His eyes were fixed on something invisible, something he could see, but we could not. And then, he was gone. Disappeared like Avik. Now there were just 2 of us, alone, surrounded by whatever it was. We kept moving, but each step felt like it was pulling us deeper into a pit of strangeness. The sound grew louder, murmuring, something almost human but not. We knew something was in those trees, something ancient, something that seemed to know our steps before we even took them. In a burst of panic, I dashed forward, my spear in hand, only to feel a sharp pain in my arm. My last companion was gripping my spear, holding me back. "Don't run, he's everywhere." Those were his last words before he too vanished before my eyes, leaving me alone. The sound stopped abruptly. Everything fell silent, like the moment before a storm. I took a deep breath, eyes fixed on the path ahead, but a cold certainty settled over me. We would not leave here alone.